Watch what happens when silver catches up. And today is a prime example of it. A 5 times the move of gold in one day. Well, what happens if it's that way for 1 week or 1 month or 1 year? And that's how fast that this will move when it really moves. It'll blow people's mind. And I will go on record and we'll have a conversation someday where you and I will wake up on a Monday morning and you're going to call me at 5 in the morning or something and be like, Andy, holy shit. Do you see the price of silver? And I'm going to say, no. And I'm going to look at the phone and I'm going to say, holy shit. That's how it's going to happen. They're going to let it go. And it's going to happen at a time that catches Wall Street and the American public off guard. And if you aren't positioned, you're dead in the water.
Connection established.
Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are here with the man, the myth, the legendary Andy Shectman, and yours truly. We haven't done an episode in like a little over a week, so there's a lot to catch up on. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you wanted to purchase from us, you could email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com, or call me 330-485-6172. I will answer the phone. This week's specials: Eagles 525 over spot. We also have lots of other stuff though. Buffalo's 235. You name it, we got it. And if somewhere else does happen to have it pricier, I'll try to match it if we don't already beat it, which usually we do. So yeah, and my phone's on 24/7. I was taking an order 2 a.m. last night. I got you guys. Work with me. So anyways, yeah, Andy, it's good to see you back, my friend. What's going on?
You too, brother. I'm good, man. I'm good. It's crazy. We're what's the date today? We're less than a month away from the BRICS meeting. I think it's October 2nd in Kazan, I think we pronounce it. And maybe 6 weeks away from the biggest election in this country's history. So, and what do we have? We got gold breaking out. Gold up $30 today, 26.60 basically, and silver up a big 5.2%, up $1.60 to 32.30. I mean, that's the thing, that people talk about the gold silver ratio. So gold was up 1.1% and silver up 5.1%. It outpaced it by a factor of 5. That is the gold silver ratio in a microcosm, just a little tiny piece of what you could expect when silver catches up, which I think it will. I think that silver, look, you're the Silver Slayer. I'm on your show. I own a silver company. Who cares? The truth of the matter is that silver is probably the most undervalued asset on the planet. And you look at the Fed now cutting rates at a time when we're, for the first time really in almost a year, we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in the ETFs from the West. So just to set the stage, we've talked about the ETF holdings going down like this as gold and silver have been going up like this, which is usually incredibly negative for the metals market. At the same time, you had a positive real yield. Forget about the nonsense out of the BS. I mean, the BLS and their CPI. Forget about that. Let's just pretend that it's real. And you have a 5% 6-month treasury yield and a 3.5% or 3.3% inflation. That's a positive real yield, downward sloping participation in the ETFs, and a strong dollar. That's the death knell for gold and silver, yet somehow it keeps going higher. And now when you see for the first time in a long time that slope in ETFs has gone like this, it's starting to go back up. And I think that component, the precious metals in particular in gold, but also in silver, that ETF component has been absent largely over the last 2 years. And I think you add that in on top of all the things we've talked about, like our interview with Sean we did not too long ago really had a great impact on me, where we discussed China going around the world, in particular Latin America, and buying up the doré and the concentrate. That's huge, right? Because that's just like the People's Liberation Army, right? No one talks about the PLA. They talk about the PBOC, the People's Bank of China, and their purchases have to be reported to the IMF. And while we stopped buying gold for a couple of months, no, you didn't. The People's Liberation Army doesn't have to report it, and they probably have more gold than the PBOC does. So the point I'm getting at is that there's a tremendous amount of effort to conceal just how much gold and silver the rest of the world is buying using the suppression of our markets, the brain dead suppression. And we've been seeing this great growth largely in gold, with silver lagging. which is typically the way it works too, my man, because gold goes up first and silver catches up like a slingshot. It's like if you ever gone water skiing and you go around a curve on a boat and it gets to that point where it just goes shoom. And that's what would happen here traditionally, where silver outperforms gold
Yep.
later on. And that's kind of what we see today here, where a 5% gain. Now, that's just a small snapshot of what it would look like, but 5%, it outpaced its gain today 5-1, yet gold is up $30. So it's distorted by the dollar figure of silver being up $1.60, but percentage wise, it's 5 times the gain. So, anyways, what I'm getting at is that now you add into an ETF, positive ETF inflow, and the Fed pivoting. You're going to add, I think, a lot of upside to the gold and silver market that's not priced in yet, as you get more interest from the investing public for the first time on a broad scale in almost 2 years.
Interesting. We've been saying October, this BRICS meeting in October for what, over a year now.
Yeah.
And it's finally about to be here. I've been telling people October and November are about to be the craziest months, the most potential. And I don't think people understand October specifically because not only October 2nd is the BRICS meeting, 150 countries coming together. Are they for sure going to be announcing the unit? Do you know?
We don't know
Is
for
that
sure. We think so. There's a meeting
yeah,
going on, I think, this week or next week in China to ratify the whole unit
yeah.
discussion to then bring it to the meeting in October. Yes, I mean it's certainly on the docket to be discussed. And here's the thing, man, even if they don't ratify it yet and don't bring it out, hey, you can see the handwriting is on the wall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's coming one way or the other. I would say
Yeah.
they're definitely going to discuss it. Will they announce it? Don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the Fed dropped rates by 50 basis points, even though the economy is supposed to be so glorious and the stock, I mean, the stock market at all-time high and unemployment so low. Thing is that the unemployment numbers that they use are fugazi, and the 4% unemployment traditionally would be record low, would be really, really good. But the U6 number that they used to report up through the 90s is almost 8%. And that's far more realistic than the numbers that we are being told, especially since we already know that 1 million full-time jobs were lost last year, replaced by 665,000 part-time jobs, largely from undocumented immigrants. And at the same time, 1.3 million jobs were full-time jobs with benefits to American citizens, and those are gone. And then they revised the numbers down by 818,000 jobs, along with a couple 100,000 throughout the year. In other words, another million jobs. It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's not the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's the Bureau of bullshit. And that's the part that bothers me, is that they're painting a picture that isn't real. And it's as if they see something coming. Could it
They
be
do.
a massive recession? Where, we've talked about last week, when the inverted yield curve, the longest ever and steepest, inverts every single time since 1950, it has predicted a recession without fail, 100%. Or Claudia Sam's rule, I think it's Sam or Sam, I'm not sure, SAHM, where she talks about a 3-month rolling average of unemployment. And if it rises 50 basis points from its low point, you're in a recession. Well, it's up 53 basis points. It's predicted a recession 9 times in a row with 100% accuracy. Are we in a recession? Is that what they're worried about? Could it be something far worse? Could it be something that comes out of BRICS? Are they going to try and do something to stop that BRICS meeting from happening, to stop the election from happening? God forbid. But I want you to think about something. I was listening to a podcast the other day with RFK Jr. He's like, the Ukraine and Russia have a 2,200-mile border. And NATO is talking about putting these Aegis missiles on the border, which can carry a nuclear warhead and would beat a Moscow in 3 minutes. And if it were on the Mexican border, would we stand for this in 1 second? And so you can understand that you wonder, to what lengths will they go to keep Trump out of office? Does it mean even doing something to perhaps delay the election or cancel the election? And that's not so far-fetched. That actually is what's happening right now in the Ukraine, where Zelensky has suspended the elections under the guise of martial law because they're in the midst of a war. God forbid that's the lengths to what we would see here. But like I said, man, these are going to be the craziest now 8 weeks maybe of our
Yeah.
lives. I really do believe that. I can't wait to ride shotgun with you, and hopefully it's not too crazy so we can talk about it and still enjoy life, right?
Yeah. This came out 2 days ago. Silver's 44-year cup and handle, the largest bullish formation ever seen. 44 years in the
Yeah,
making.
and gold is similar to that, but that's a big
Yeah.
one. And
Yeah.
for those people, who don't know, I'm sure many do, but a cup and handle formation is one of the most bullish technical
Yeah.
formations. And it shows, in this case, a tremendous base that was formed. When you have a cup and handle formation that is that long, I think it probably would accentuate the outcome that much more.
Yep.
Anything that is done over time creates a much bigger pattern for sure. And if it's a small sample size like today, where silver outpaced gold 5-1 percentage wise, well, that isn't the same thing as if it were 47 years worth of data that
Right.
showed that. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's a very bullish sign, 100%,
Yeah.
100% a bullish sign. And it's the same thing where if you look since 2022, the ETFs, including silver, and the price, well, gold mostly, have diverged, where there was an outflow of gold and the uptick in the price of metal. So now you put into the equation a massive bullish formation, pivoting on interest rates, the Indians and the Chinese buying at levels no one's ever seen before, buying unrefined concentrate in doré. And for people who don't know what doré is, it's a half-assed attempt by a refine or a miner to refine a bar, probably down to 40 or 50%. And then they send it to the refiner who then refines it to 999 pure. It's, in other words, they don't take the time to refine all the impurities out the miner doesn't, but just enough to put it in a bar form to ship it. Anyway, so you got China buying all. Look at the bullish indications that we're seeing everywhere. People should understand that. And yet, and the craziest thing about all of this, Jay, I honestly mean this to you, for I've been doing this since I was 19, man. And if you would have told me in 1989, when I started this company, that gold would be at almost 2,700 bucks and you wouldn't hear squat about it on the evening news or anywhere for that matter. And silver right now, again, we're pretty damn close to as high as it's been in the last decade. You don't hear a word about it anywhere.
Right.
From a public
Right.
standpoint, they wouldn't know gold and silver coins if it fell on their collective feet.
Right.
So again, contrarian indicators, bullish indicators everywhere you look, leading into the biggest election of our lifetimes in a BRICS meeting in a very, very
That's
unstable time. If
yeah.
you don't get this right now, people, I mean,
Yeah.
what you waiting for? I don't know that you ever
Yeah.
will. No salesmanship
No.
here at all. This is just
Yeah.
straight up. I mean,
Yeah.
look around
It's
you, and if you are comfortable with the status quo, you're a lot braver than I am.
yeah. That's what I was referring to back when I was talking about this October and November. The BRICS meeting in October on October 2nd, but we also have the US pushing that mandate of on October 1st of
Basel too.
4.5%. Yeah, 4.5% held with tier one assets like gold, which is 0% right now. So they already are trying to combat it, it seems like. So
And think
we
about
have
how crazy that is, man. It's
right.
it's it's they're mandating that you hold 4.5% of your liabilities. I
Yeah.
mean, so that means 95.5% everything else is out there. It's crazy. I mean, it's not like it's that big of a deal yet. That just goes to show how over leveraged the system is and undercapitalized. So if 5% of the people come in and say, "Give me my money," it creates a
Mm,
problem. How about 10%? How about 20%? Big problem. Now they have to
yeah,
sell all of those assets that they have, which are typically treasuries or things like it, in order to come up with that money. And heaven forbid interest rates move the other way. And again, that's probably why they're giving in and lowering rates and
yeah,
pivoting. But they're
yeah,
65% away from their target of
yeah,
2%. And yet, okay, inflation's under control. My ass it is. It hasn't even begun.
right.
And it will only get higher as a result of these actions.
And this is the craziest thing is we're already seeing silver right below the breakout of last time it was above 32.50 is when it shot to $50 in 2011, or $49, whatever.
And it
Right before
happened
that,
fast.
right,
From
right,
from that point, from 32 to 50, I
right.
couldn't believe how fast it happened. It was
We're right
really
there.
fast. Yeah.
We're right there, and we still have the biggest months coming that would do that, that would push it above that, and some. Plus, on top of that, silver lags behind gold. It always does, but when it catches up, it's always more. It's gold
In a
on
44-year
steroids.
cup and handle formation.
And a 44 year, it's a more exaggerated version of gold. If
And
gold's going to go
positive
up 5,
inflows now for the first time in 2 years into the
right?
ETFs,
Like,
and China and India buying it off the hook and buying up unrefined silver. I mean, you couldn't paint a
you
picture of
can't.
a better asset, period, or a better investment to own. If you were trying to teach a class on investment 101, where you try and show value, we call it asymmetrical risk reward. Okay. The best asymmetrical risk reward I've ever seen. And that would be the lowest downside with the best upside. And
You
that's
know, it's
asymmetrical risk reward, where, yeah, you can buy it at 30 bucks. What's your downside? What's your upside? And I would say to you that if it had been allowed to be traded freely, because remember, 8 commercial banks from the West hold the largest concentrated short position in any commodity ever traded in the history of the COMEX in silver. Right? We talked about the why. John Little does an amazing job of telling us about the military-industrial complex and the why. That's why they're holding the price down, because they're fighting wars and they being the military-industrial complex, needs cheap silver in order to make weapons. I get it, but they're not reporting it, so most people don't get it and think
right.
30. Wow, it's extended at 32. My ass, it is. It hasn't really been able to. It's like keeping a person in a cage, from the time they're a little kid until they're full grown adult. And it's like by the time the person's full grown adult and the cage is bursting at the seams. Well,
Yep.
that's kind of what this is like.
Yep.
Silver's been kept in a cage for a long time, and it's bursting at the seams as the world accumulates it, like
Yeah.
Russia, like China, like India, and India buying over 800 million ounces in the last few years. And their numbers are going through the roof. In fact, I just read something. Let me just see. I'm sure you've already probably talked about it. I know you have. But Reuters just reported silver's imports in the first half of 2024 jumped to 4,554 tons from 560 tons a year ago, which was
Yep.
a record year. So in other words, it's up 7 times from the 2023 levels. What the hell are people not seeing in
Yeah.
this? And Reuters is reporting that, and yet it doesn't go past that.
Right.
And if you're not digging to find that stuff in the creepy bottom, corner of
Right.
Reuters with the other conspiracy stories, not front and center on the front page of everywhere and everything, um, you'll miss that, as
Yep.
will most people,
It will
and
be it will be there after it's already
of
exploded
course.
when it's too late,
And
right?
we told you, see, it was in Reuters.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
right.
And the craziest thing is we talked about the 44-year cup and handle, XYZ, this, that, and we still haven't even talked about the massive deficit of 770 million ounce deficit in the last 2, 3 years alone, right? The massive amount of silver needed in this new digital, industrial era we're growing into. That too, like you cannot make up a more perfect scenario for something. And like you said, the person busting out of the cage, I refer to them like volcanoes. Like there's a gold volcano, silver volcano. Gold's volcano did erupt, right? It broke past all-time highs, still is. Silver's volcano still hasn't erupted, and the more time, more magma builds up. When it does, it's going to explode.
Yeah,
And
100%, 100%. Um, and you got, uh, as much as I hate to say it, you got many of the Fed, the Fed governors, the one from Chicago, last name Goolsbee, talking about that there will be many more rate cuts on their way down to, they want it to get down to around 3% on the federal funds rate, which is, you're talking 4 more rate cuts of 50 basis points plus. You're talking gold and silver rocket fuel. And it just is the realization. And what's interesting too, man, is that when they lowered rates on the by dropping the federal funds rate, the back end of the curve went higher. In other words, the yield, the bond market fell and the yield went higher, because who wants to hold our long-term duration debt when we're just obviously giving up on fighting inflation and continuing to spend and destroy the value of the dollar? So it had the opposite effect. But what it is doing is uninverting the yield curve, where they're pushing down the front end and the back end is selling off, and the rates are going higher because no one wants to hold our debt of any duration because of the risks to inflation and to war and to all of the other things that are kind of floating around out there. These are very strange times, man. It truly is. And it's not about making money. It's not about that. It's about return of your money rather than return on it right now. And I don't think it's even begun to accentuate itself in terms of what's going to happen. That'll happen here over the next couple of weeks as we head into the election. There's just going to be some things that I think will just automatically start to get strange.
Yeah, there's so many good articles that have been coming out lately. Um, and this one came out today, fresh off the press. 5 reasons why silver is the investment opportunity of the decade. Going over some good points too. Number one, leading indicator is wildly bullish. A lot of what we were mentioning, physical shortage, silver price chart
There's that cup and
dynamics.
handle right
Yep,
there.
the
See
cup and
it?
handle, short positions well below historic extremes, and then the fuel as well. And this is a uh, quote from Warren Buffett: "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient."
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
funny. It's funny he said that, because it's funny, man, because I remember playing poker with a guy once, and he said, I thought he was so profound, and now I realize he was full of shit. He said playing poker is a systematic transfer of wealth from the impatient to patient. Well, I guess you could apply it that way too, but I didn't realize he stole it from Warren. Well, that's interesting to note.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
man, but that is what's happening, and everyone who's in the stock market is very impatient, and they want immediate gains, not the long, suffering, torturous journey through the desert that you and I have been on for forever. And but this is, and I look at gold, and to me, when I say gold, I mean silver too. They have a 90% correlation through all of time. They move together, not always in symmetry. But let's just focus on gold for a moment and realize silver will exhibit a very similar pattern once the
Hmm.
dust settles. And that is that, for the past 25 years, gold has outperformed everything. And it's doubled the 10-year treasury. It's outpaced the S&P 500 with dividends reinvested. It hasn't beaten Bitcoin, but that's not a traditional asset. It's beaten everything traditional. And here it is at all-time highs, completely ignored. And silver even more ignored. And the same old nonsense about silver being an industrial metal and it could slow down in a recession and this and that. The world has moved past that. This is not about a recession. This is not about any of that. This is about silver, I think, is being recognized by, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think Russia and China and India have understood for a long time what we're doing. I try and show people that when I talk about the comment that came out of the Shanghai Grain Exchange, or the BRICS Grain Exchange, rather, where the gentleman who's behind it said, look, we produce more wheat than the West, we consume more, yet we don't control the price. That's controlled on COMEX. When this is finalized, the BRICS Grain Exchange, this will change that. Well, they know that the same exact thing. It's the exact same thing that's happening and more relevant. It's like they're tipping their hat, because the
Mm.
exact same thing they know is happening with the precious metals, and they have been using that against us. I've been screaming about this forever, but I think they realize what we're doing, and they have been trying to beat us at this game. This is a financial war. This is not a hot war, and they're draining the system of everything. And I've talked about the base metals, how the LBM, or how the Chinese own the LME. I've talked about the commodity contracts like wheat and soybean and corn. They built the grain exchange, and Brazil is now selling corn and soybeans to China instead of the United States doing it, and instead of Australia doing it. These were their main producers, and now they're not. This is a game that is moving in the other direction, while the people in this country have no patience, to your point, and they want immediate returns because instant gratification is not fast enough. But when we look at what gold has done, outpacing everything and hanging in there and quietly, like the tortoise in the old kid story, the tortoise and the hare, and holy shit, there's the tortoise. How did he get here? Watch what happens when silver catches up. And today is a prime example of it. A 5 times the move of gold in one day. Well, what happens if it's that way for 1 week or 1 month or 1 year? And what does that look like? Gold has already gone up considerably, right? Considerably. It's doubled in, I don't know, not much more than a year. So a couple of years anyway. But silver has a lot of room to go. And at an 85-to-1 ratio, that's 4 feet of snow in my backyard in Delray Beach, Florida, man, in July. It doesn't happen. And I got 2 snowmobiles back in Minnesota. I wouldn't call my sister and tell her to send them back here if it were, because I know it's an anomaly. And this anomaly has grown stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's pushing a beach ball deeper and deeper and deeper down at the bottom of the pool. And you're stepping on it, but if your foot slips, it's going to come up and hit you in the chin and knock you out. And that's how fast that this will move when it really moves. It'll blow people's mind. And I will go on record and we'll have a conversation someday where you and I will wake up on a Monday morning and you're going to call me at 5 in the morning or something and be like, Andy, holy shit. Yeah. Do you see the price of silver? And I'm going to say, no. And I'm going to look at the phone and I'm going to say, holy shit. That's how it's going to happen. They're going to let it go. And it's going to happen at a time that catches Wall Street and the American public off guard. And if you aren't positioned, you're dead in the water. And I know that's going to happen. I just don't know when, but you can pull this video up.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it when that happens. I've seen it at $50 in 2011. I saw how fast it went up. I saw how fast it went down. The difference is the world looks at the United States very differently than it did in 2011. Yeah. And we're in a much worse financial position than we were in 2011.
Yes.
You know, the old Bob Dylan song, "The times they are changing."
Yeah. 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 I always think about people looking at like this in like a couple of years from now and like looking back at these videos. Like right now we see silver at 31 or whatever, but people in a few years, you know, after it's already done what it does, looking back, be like, man, I wish I could build a time machine and go back to, you know, September 24th and get silver when they still could at 30.
People like, I say that their whole lives, man.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like Back to the Future, you know, and
yeah.
Just would have put all my money on Apple and Yahoo, or go back to high school, you know what you know now. I mean, the whole thing, it's crazy, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist, man, to see the crumbs that have laid in front of you. And that's what's different about you than most people. And that's one of the reasons that I find conversations with you very stimulating, is that you get it and you see the crumbs, you see where we're going. Most people refuse to see it. And I would argue you're not even married to your own story. You're very logical, and you're very you base what you're talking about on evidence and fact.
Yeah,
and
I try to be a realist. I have to be.
Everywhere around us now, isn't it? I mean, more so than ever. Now there's just a few pieces, back then, just a few pieces that you could talk about each podcast. And now there's 20 things to talk about every week, and going faster and faster and faster and faster. So I guess, you know, only time will tell, but I would say to you, in my opinion, that there isn't a better place to park money on the planet right now than in silver, period.
Yeah.
Full stop, period. I don't know of a better place, value, and the story that we've talked about on every level here in this discussion, that would speak to anything different.
Yeah. So you're aware of AI, right? Or do you keep up with AI?
Yeah, you sent me a couple of pictures that blew my mind the other day.
Yeah, those are cool. So OpenAI, the newest version of AI, it's called OpenAI o1. This is the newest of the new version. Someone asked it to predict silver's price for the end of 2024. These AIs are getting very accurate on price predictions. They are programmed to incorporate everything from manipulation to all. This one's cool because it gives potential scenarios and what silver's price will be if each of these scenarios plays out, which is very interesting. So check this out. So Bullish scenario, 35 plus per ounce by the end of 2024. Sustained high inflation continues to drive investors towards silver as a hedge. Strong industrial demand, significant growth in technology sectors that utilize silver. Geopolitical tensions, increased global uncertainties leading to higher demand for safe havens. That's all happening and will continue. Here's a bearish scenario, 28 or lower. But this is bearish if these happen. Economic stabilization, global economy stabilize, leading to higher interest rates, strong US dollar, reducing silver's appeal. Increased supply, significant rises in mining output or recycling rates, leading to oversupply. Technological substitutes, development of alternative materials. We know none of that's going to happen. So, and then the moderate scenario, 28-35, balance factors, mixing of stabilizing economic indicators, moderate industrial demand, steady. We know that the only scenario that is realistic is the bullish scenario, which they're saying would be
Yeah,
35
that
plus.
the bearish one is not realistic. And
Yeah,
who the hell needs a analyst anymore with AI? It's
right.
insane how this is going to change the world.
Yeah.
You know, my son, who now works at Miles Franklin, was an accountant at Price Waterhouse, and I'm thinking, you know, right out of college, they paid him like 80 grand a year to go over the balance sheet of a real estate investment trust in Manhattan. I'm thinking, what the hell do they need to pay this human 80 grand a year with benefits and health insurance when they can just do it on AI and say, analyze this spreadsheet or this balance sheet, bang, done in
Yep.
30
And
seconds, you know,
yeah, less than that now.
three
It's insane.
seconds.
Yeah,
Right.
it is honestly
It's
insane.
going to change the world. It really is.
Yeah.
It's kind of a scary thing. You
Yeah.
know, you teach your kids to understand how to speak to AI, to
Yeah.
learn those prompts, and to put yourself in a field that wouldn't be compromised by
Mm.
anything that's analytical like that could just be eviscerated
Yeah.
by
Like,
AI.
do they even teach kids how to write cursive in school anymore? I don't think
Who
so.
knows, man? I know they don't
Yeah.
do the Pledge of Allegiance,
Right.
so
Yeah,
it wouldn't
yeah,
surprise
that
me.
was
Cursive is too old school for them, but
yeah,
who
that's
knows?
interesting.
They probably don't teach them how to do long division either. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, what do you need it for anymore? When you can just say, if I say it, she'll answer. But hey, you know what? What's
Yeah.
85 divided by 9 or whatever? It's like,
I
oh,
wonder what history classes or like I remember I took like economics in high school or like history. I wonder what those classes teach nowadays. That would be very
the same
interesting.
bullshit that they always taught
Yeah.
Keynesian economics and you know, at least in terms of economics classes, where instead they should have been teaching Austrian economics, which is a system based on savings, investment, and reinvestment.
Oh.
In the story of the three pigs, it's the brick house, and Keynesian economics is debt and taxation and spending. And that's very oversimplified, but it's in essence it's the straw house, and that's where the Western system is. It's a system that is now way over indebted, and it's the straw house ready to tip over as the BRICS build their economy and these countries upon commodities. And this is Bretton Woods 3, the brick house, where he or she who has the commodities wins. And
Mhm.
look at what we've talked about, the Belt Road Initiative, all of the underdeveloped countries that are massively resource rich, 75% of human population, the BRICS countries, all very resource rich, massive oil producers, three of the four largest nuclear arsenals. Look at all of the countries that are signing on or expressing interest. They're all the ones with, you know, the Eurasian continent and South Africa that have all the rare earths, and they, you know, they refine 100% of the rare earths in China, and all of these things. We're moving to that system that is about real things, and that's why these low prices, that's why they're not bitching about them, because they're stealing everything at
Yeah.
low prices, and then and stealing in a fair game. That's not stealing, it's stealing from the stupidity of the way we're pricing things to maintain the illusion that our store, which is bankrupt, is still, the lights are on and we're still open for business, but we're allowing the patrons to empty the shelves at you know far below what the products they're taking are worth.
Because
You look
only
at the United,
1%. And this is the
yes,
thing people don't understand is such a small amount of people own precious metals. Because people are like, well, why would they let us do this if silver's so valuable? How come I can buy it at 30? It's like you don't understand. less than 1% of the population even knows about precious metals or is aware of this stuff. It's not like it might seem like commonplace or mainstream to you, but no, we are in a very small niche. Like we are lucky to know about this, so taking advantage of it is why. Don't try to think, oh well, silver's 30. If this was all true, why can I still get it for so that
Be- because
it's
it's traded globally. And
yeah.
that's why. And the COMEX, like it or not, is the price setting mechanism of forever. And by keeping the price low, they have disincentivized demand for a long time for that same stupid mentality. Like, oh, well, if it's worth so much, why is it only 30? Well, that's the whole point. If you keep its
Mm.
price completely suppressed and make it seem like an asset that pays no interest and is an archaic relic of the past, who wants to own it? It's masked
Price,
through value. So the people who say that are just
yeah,
uneducated and they don't look
yeah,
at things properly. They look, it's like looking through a toilet paper tube,
yeah,
and just looking at, instead of taking a step back and look at the real picture. And I would ask the question of, if it's not so valuable, then why the hell are they suppressing it? Why are
yeah.
there 8 banks
Why?
stepping on it? And the difference is that forever these other countries never stood for delivery. They were not motivated, coordinated, sophisticated, or wealthy enough to do it. They had no interest in doing it, and now they do. So this is what's called getting caught in your own game. And these countries have become wealthy, coordinated, sophisticated, and motivated, and they get what's going on. That's why we're losing this game. It
Mm.
was a game that we won because we set the rules in the beginning, and now we're losing because those same rules, which were put in place, that never would have allowed these countries really any real means or desire to stand for delivery, now is slanted much more so in their favor. That's the
Mm.
difference, Jay. That's the difference. That's why things will accelerate from here tremendously,
Yeah.
because at some point the jig is up. It's obvious that they understand what's going on, and the West then will have to kind of batten down the hatches and do all they can to retain it and let the price really go where it's supposed to go. I just think that this is a very dangerous game that we're losing at, based upon the fact that the world has really gotten smart to what we're doing.
Yeah, price is the greatest tool in this direction. You've
Who said
always
that?
said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to also mention real quick before I forget, you've started to post on your channel now, correct?
Yes, and I'm going to have you on. I'm going to have you on the first week in December if I
Yeah.
can get you on. I'd like to
Yeah.
have you come on my show
Yeah.
and do a live Q&A, you and I. That's what
Yeah.
we're going to do, and I'm going to run it. And yes, I would like that a
I
lot.
just I just
I
want
am.
everyone to know because everyone loves you on my
I
channel. I
love
just want
you,
everyone.
man. The first show I
Yeah.
did is going to come out tonight, I think, and it was with G. Edward
Cool.
Griffin.
Oh,
I
I'm gonna.
interviewed
I'll
the
have to
Creature
share
from
that.
Jekyll Island author. What a cool dude! This guy's like 94, and he looks younger than most 70-year-olds
Wow.
that I see, playing golf.
Yeah.
Um, and a smart guy, and
Yeah.
it was fun. So thanks
Oh
for bringing
man.
that up. Yeah,
Yeah.
coming on your show still is something I'll do forever, as long as
Yeah.
you'll have me. That's not
Yeah.
going to change. But I figured, why not? Why not
Yeah.
have my own too?
Right,
And
you need to. You're the, you need to. That's like so important. And I'm glad that you are because now I can offer my audience, more insight. Like I love promote like last night, I didn't post a video yesterday, so one of my favorite silver stacking channels from like 2014, like he was the first silver stacking channel that like legitimately
what
made
channel is
like
that?
Junius Maltby. He's talked about he's been in like one of the original stacking channels that talked about like the economics of it and geopolitics and he was doing a live stream last night called Metals Math or something about he was just going over like these math questions. It's really interesting, but I just shared his channel last night. Like I hadn't posted a video today, so here check out one of my favorite stacking channels and
We
just
should get
so
all of us
yeah.
together and do
Yeah.
some
He's a
sort of
smart dude. You guys would have
get
a
us
great
all together and
conversation.
have like a round table would be very
Yeah.
cool.
He's yeah, that dude, he's one of the OGs. Like he's that's like one of the first channels I like looked up to when I started.
The
But
OGs. I like
yeah.
that. The OG.
Yeah.
Well, you
But
know what,
anyways,
man? All I can say is that buckle up, dude, because
yep.
if the rest of the next coming weeks is like today, you're gonna see silver. And we're right at that number, that 32 number, which is the previous peak from 2011, or
Yeah.
no, well, 2011 was 50, but as it fell down, it was resistance there. I think that is the technical number. We're at it right now. I think it's a little bit higher than where it is at 32 and change. We're right there. If it breaks
That
through
is
that, then
crazy.
there's nothing stopping it between there and 50.
That is crazy.
So it should be interesting to see
Yeah,
what happens over the next
32.18
coming days
right
and weeks.
now.
What's it at?
This 32.18 right now.
And I think it's a little higher, like 32. What was the
Yeah, well
peak?
this is on the New York Comex. I know like the LBMA sometimes is higher.
What is that
But
resistance level? What is it? 32 what? Let me look and see.
32.50.
Yeah, we
Like
got to get above that.
32.50.
So
Yeah,
we're
yep.
close. We're really close.
Yep.
But
Man.
nothing
All
good
right.
ever comes easy, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. I post daily videos. And yeah, I'll link Andy's channel down below as well for you guys to check out. And if you guys wanted to purchase, remember, email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com, or call me 330-485-6172. I'd be happy to help. So yeah.
You're the
Anyways,
best, my brother. I'll talk with you
yeah.
soon and stay well.
All right.
And look forward to picking up where we left off.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everyone. Peace.
Peace.